What is the latest there, Adam, and what official word have we had on it all?
Yeah, good morning to you. In the past few minutes, I've just had a conversation with the French sports minister, Amélie Oudéa-Castéra, who has herself just come from who's just come from a meeting with the government, and she has provided us with the information that she says that this is sabotage. She said that it was, if people who've done this are playing, she said, against the side of the athletes, and described it as large, coordinated sabotage. She said that she was angry, stressed, but said that we will not allow ourselves to be destabilized. I asked her whether or not this could be the actions of a state actor, whether this could be the actions of terrorists. She did not rule that out, but she said simply she didn't know that it could be that. It also could be protesters. She said at the moment they can't say who is responsible for these actions. I have to say, Wilfred, she was emotionally, she looked genuinely furious about what had happened. It was at pains to emphasise that Paris is safe for the millions upon millions of visitors who are going to be coming to this city over the coming couple of weeks. Clearly, she, along with so many other people here, want the focus to be on the opening ceremony today, a flotilla of boats that will be going down the River Seine and will be protected by a vast number of police officers. SNCF, the French national rail operator, has now deployed many rail workers onto the lines to try and address the damage that has been done. Police are being sent to main railway stations. As you imagine, this disruption is now meaning that people are crowding into these stations. Parisians are basically trying to get away from the city in order to avoid the disruption that inevitably comes with any city that is hosting an Olympic Games. So there are long delays on train journeys in this country. Eurostar is being affected, and this really does affect high-speed lines across a huge area, across the northeast, northwest, and then out towards the French Atlantic coast. As we said, the French government telling Sky News that at the moment it can't say who is responsible, but this minister emphasising to us that she's angry, stressed, furious, emotional, but insisting that France will not allow itself to be destabilised right on the eve of its own Olympic Games.
And I just wanted to bring you as well the statement from the SNCF, the National Rail Company. They say last night the SNCF was victim of several acts of vandalism on the Atlantic, Northern and Eastern high-speed lines. Fires were deliberately set to damage our installations. Adam, earlier today, as you said there, we don't know who the perpetrators were and what the reason behind wanting to set these fires was. But we were talking in one of the earlier hours about the sense of protests that has been present in France ahead of these Olympic Games, perhaps a little bit more pronounced than normal ahead of some of these sorts of events in other countries. But France has been beset with protests for quite a few months now, even years, one might say, when we think of some of the agricultural protests as well as the destabilising aspects of recent both European and then domestic parliamentary elections.
Yeah, look, France is a country that has a rich, long-standing culture of public protest that goes back centuries. And yes, in recent times, we've seen huge protests about two things, I think, predominantly recently. One is about President Macron's intention to raise the retirement age. The second thing were a series of protests held by farmers across this country and indeed other European countries. I think those were, in many ways, bigger scale, public, but also largely coordinated and predictable. The difference here is that this is an act of what the government has told us, of sabotage, coordinated acts of sabotage, unpredicted. Nobody knew that this was coming. So this is about criminality rather than protest. Now, we have, at the moment, no indication about who is behind this. whether this is a state sector, whether this is coming from protesters, whether this is simply coming from criminal arsonists. But I think what the government is looking at the moment very, very keenly, who is responsible for this? Why are they doing it? How can they be stopped? How can the effects of this be mitigated? And let's be honest, how can visitors to Paris today be assured that they are safe?